Hey there Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. And if you are new here, my name is Hannah. I am an astrologer and I make videos all about astrology. Okay, so in today's video we're going to be discussing the 5 things that you need to know about this full moon in Pisces taking place on the 10th of September 2022, so stay tuned. But before we do dive into today's video, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button and click the bell. And if you are interested in a personal reading from myself, then you can go to my website, hannahselsewhere.com. There you can also find my Practical Astrology ebooks and merch. All the links will be in the description box below. I do hope that you find this video to be helpful today. Let's do this. Alright, so the first thing you need to know about this full moon in Pisces taking place on the 10th of September 2022 is that it will oppose the sun in Virgo at 17 degrees, creating the number 8 in numerological terms. 8 representing things like achievement, determination, responsibility, and long-term success. Not to mention the number 8 is often associated with infinity. It's seen as a symbol of abundance and plenty. And there is also a life and death element to this number. So looking at the cycle of life and also looking at spirituality and looking at karma. And how very fitting, because the sign of Pisces is a deeply spiritual and mystical sign. It is representative of things like infinity and eternal life. And Virgo, okay, the sign opposite, Virgo can signify our physicality, the tangible, and therefore during this full moon in Pisces, perhaps you seek to cleanse and purify. There is something you wish to let go of and release. But this release isn't any ordinary release that is often associated with full moons, because this is Pisces we are talking about. And Pisces is the sign of endings and release. And there is something spiritual, deeply spiritual about the process. You know, something sprung to my mind whilst typing up this script, and it made me think about Pisces. So I forgot to post about the new moon in Virgo on Instagram, but I didn't realize until I started typing up the information for this moon video. And for a moment I thought, damn, how could I have forgotten to do that, right? But then I thought, hold on a second, hold on. What way would a Pisces perceive this? How would they think of this? Maybe this is a sign, right? A sign that I don't necessarily have to share moon cycle posts on my Instagram. Could it be that I should focus my energy on other things? Or maybe it was a sign that I've been juggling too many things, too many projects perhaps. Then again, my Virgo logic goes to, well, that was a mistake. That was kind of dumb. But still, make sure you learn from it, Hannah. Maybe I need to make sure to write everything down as a reminder. I already do that, but with this thing in particular, forgot. But could there be something symbolic or meaningful behind my mistake? And so perhaps in my case, there is something about this situation I can release. Something about my way of doing things, something about my attitude towards my work, or maybe there is some sort of spiritual reason saying, take your Instagram in a different direction, Hannah. Still, during this full moon, try to think about what you are releasing, okay? What are you letting go of? You know, what signs are you even seeing or noticing within your life? You know, where's the symbolism for you there? Consider the higher meaning of what plays out in your life. Also, consider what was happening For you, during the new moon in Pisces back in March 2022, the new moon took place on the 2nd of March. So think about what intentions you were setting back then. Intentions to do with things like serenity, love, compassion, forgiveness, and healing. I know for myself, in my journal, I talked about my emotional well-being and about how grateful I was. I felt hopeful and optimistic during the new moon in Pisces. But yeah, consider what played out back then for you, because you may find that during the full moon, this full moon, things come back around, or you feel similar themes, or maybe you reap a few rewards. So let's say this full moon is taking place in your 12th house, so looking at you Aries, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this full moon, you reap rewards to do with your spiritual life and your inner world. Maybe you heal from something subconscious, or you feel a deep release, or perhaps matters to do with compassion and serenity come back around. There is a desire to feel something and to let go of what no longer serves you. There is also a desire to get really quiet with yourself and to listen to your inner guide. Or let's say this full moon is taking place in your 8th house, so looking at you Leo, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this full moon you reap rewards to do with your vulnerabilities and emotional closeness. Maybe you heal from an intimate situation, or you feel a deep release when it comes to opening up and letting others in. Perhaps matters to do with spiritual closeness and boundless love come back around. So looking at how whole and complete you feel within. There is a desire to let go of a hopeless situation, or perhaps you want to transform spiritually. Or let's say this full moon is taking place in your 4th house, so looking at you Sagittarius, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this full moon you reap rewards to do with your family and living situation. Maybe you heal from a housing matter, or you feel a deep release regarding your emotional/inner security. Perhaps matters to do with boundaries and dependability come back around, especially looking at how things correlate with your family life. There is a desire to let go of a victimized situation, or it could be that you focus on practicing greater self-compassion. And this leads me on to the second thing you need to know about this full moon in Pisces, and that is that it will conjunct Neptune retrograde in Pisces. And this is highlighting the importance of things like self-compassion and forgiveness. See, with the sun and moon being on this Virgo Pisces axis, perhaps we feel like we need to do better, we need to be more perfect, or perhaps we are idealistic. We get caught up in our own dreamy expectations of what is right and what is wrong. We visualize the type of person we want to be, but unfortunately things do not align realistically, and then we may become disappointed. Perhaps we end up breaking our own hearts because the dream isn't reality. But what we do have is inner faith. What we do have is the ability to have some type of control over our destiny, okay? Emphasis on the some type of control, some kind of control. Of course, we can't control everything. And I also think it's important to be aware of our limitations just as much as our strengths. Still, perhaps during this full moon, we can practice self-compassion. We can forgive ourselves for our past mistakes, for example, and we can also release the idea that we are perfect people or that we should be perfect people. Of course, perfectionism can be a good thing too, and we can strive for betterment, to improve ourselves. I mean, perfectionists often work hard and they are said to pay attention to details. Still, punishing ourselves when we make a mistake, freaking out when we mess up somewhere, when there's an error somewhere, perhaps we can give ourselves some grace. Like I said, forgiveness. Virgos will often cringe at their past selves, and they can also ruminate and go over and over the same thing, just going over that thing that they did wrong in the past. Yes, I am that person. But I think what this full moon in Pisces is telling us is how to let all of that stuff go. How to recognize that that was then and this is now. There is something very present about Pisces. So this idea of living in the moment and embracing each moment as it comes. There is power in the now, says Pisces. And interestingly, Eckhart Tolle, or Tolle, probably pronouncing that incorrectly, the author of The Power of Now, he has his Mercury in Pisces. So that's just a fun fact. So let's say this full moon is taking place in your 11th house. So looking at you, Taurus, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this full moon, you reap rewards to do with your friendships and your alliances. Maybe you hail from a community situation or from an ideology, or perhaps you forgive yourself for a collective matter that happened in the past, a group matter that happened in the past, or quite possibly you try to focus on the now within the groups and clubs you're a part of. You want to enjoy the present moment with your friends instead of punishing yourself for something that you did within a past romantic relationship, for example. Or let's say this full moon is taking place in your 7th house, so looking at you, Virgo, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this full moon, you reap rewards to do with your one-on-one relationships. Maybe you hail from a relationship or from a business associate / client situation. Or it could be that you forgive yourself for how you behaved within a previous relationship. Maybe you aim to focus on the present moment with your close friends or with your significant other. You want to focus on the now instead of punishing yourself for something you did in the past. Or let's say this full moon is taking place in your 3rd house, so looking at you, Capricorn, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this full moon, you reap rewards to do with your sibling or cousin relationships. Maybe you hail from a neighborhood situation or from an education matter. Quite possibly you forgive yourself for what happened amongst your close relatives or peers. Maybe you decide to focus on the now with these people, or you aim to enjoy the moment instead of punishing yourself for a traveling matter that happened a while back, for instance. The third thing you need to know about this full moon is that the sun and moon will square Mars in Gemini. Okay, so there is a ton of mutable energy during this full moon, flexible and adaptable, yes, but also chaotic and kind of all over the place. Also a lot of mercurial energy, so we might want to stimulate our minds, but at the same time, our souls. Maybe we become distracted easily, or we find it slightly challenging to focus, or it could be that we feel more charming, amusing and curious. We want to switch things up and just go wherever the wind takes us. But at the same time, it's so frustrating because we might feel like we can't get anything done. So maybe this is why becoming quiet is so important. So instead of rushing around aimlessly as our minds just shoot off in all of these different directions, maybe it's a good idea to really tune in with ourselves and just be. Many thoughts are likely, but what if during this full moon we accept the stillness? What if we took a moment to truly breathe out? So let's say this full moon is taking place in your 10th house, so looking at you, Gemini, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this full moon you reap rewards to do with your professional life and to do with your accomplishments. Maybe you hail from a public matter, or you choose to focus on the now with your managers or when it comes to your public position. And whilst you might be coming up with all of these ideas about your life path and your direction, you also consider the quiet, the stillness. Maybe you actually step away from social media for a short period of time, or you take a short break from work, or perhaps you simply need a moment to breathe out. Or let's say this full moon is taking place in your 6th house, so looking at you Libra, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this full moon you reap rewards to do with your working life and your daily responsibilities. Maybe you hail from a health matter, or you choose to focus on being present with your co-workers, or when it comes to your routines and your habits. And whilst you might be coming up with all of these wonderful ideas about promoting yourself and broadcasting, you also take a moment to be still. Perhaps you leave work a little bit early, or you decide to book in a therapeutic appointment of some kind. The 4th thing you need to know about this full moon in Pisces is that the moon will sextile Uranus retrograde and the North Node in Taurus. Okay, so we experienced a sextile between the moon and Uranus in Taurus during the new moon in Pisces back in March 2022. Therefore, these themes regarding independent living and financial freedom, they're being highlighted again, especially looking at our dreams when it comes to these matters. And with the North Node being thrown into the mix, we might feel this deep desire to create our own destiny, to truly manifest the life of our dreams, so to speak. We want to do something original and new. We want to liberate ourselves and align ourselves with others who share similar values. Perhaps we want to experience major breakthroughs when it comes to our financial position and our income. But remember, Uranus is retrograde this time round. And so it could be that we come up against a few extra surprises, let's just say. Quite possibly there are a few messes to clean up and organize. But again, it could be that there is power to be found in allowing things to unfold as they should, without pushing or forcing things to happen. So on that note, let's say this full moon is taking place in your 2nd house, so looking at you Aquarius, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this full moon, you reap rewards to do with your income, to do with your belongings, your possessions. It could be that you hail from a self-worth matter, or you choose to live in the moment when it comes to the things you own. And whilst you dream of home-related matters, or you wish to create your own destiny when it comes to your family and your home, you also accept that you can't force things to happen, and that things will happen at their own pace. Patience and a healthy mindset are important. Besides, perhaps there are a few things to clean up within the intimacy department. Or let's say this full moon is taking place in your 9th house, so looking at you Cancer, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this full moon, you reap rewards to do with your higher meaning and your future aspirations. It could be that you hail from a training matter, or you focus on the now when it comes to traveling and getting away somewhere. And whilst you might dream of creating this amazing future where you are secure and you're stable, a future where you have everything you could possibly need, you also accept that you can't push for things to happen at the speed you want. Being patient is important, and so is surrounding yourself with encouraging and supportive people. And at the same time, it could be that there are a few things to clean up when it comes to your education, when it comes to learning. And the 5th and final thing you need to know about this full moon in Pisces taking place on the 10th of September 2022 is that the moon will semi-sextile Saturn retrograde in Aquarius. So some uneasy and uncomfortable energy here, because whilst this Pisces energy is more about letting go, just being, The Saturn retrograde energy is reminding us of our responsibilities and our duties to ourselves and others. Not to mention the Sun in Virgo will in conjunct Saturn as well, again reminding us of all the things that we actually need to do, the things we need to attend to. Saturn is the master builder, and with it being in Aquarius for the past couple of years, we've been establishing structure within our group involvements. And also when it comes to our hopes and our wishes for the future. And with Saturn being retrograde, things can seem a lot slower, okay? It can feel like we are working twice as hard. Still, whilst there is a part of us that wants to let go and release and live in the moment during this full moon, there's another part of us that is fully aware of our commitments. It's the clash of practical versus spiritual, doing versus being, and perhaps also there is a way to create some type of balance, some balance throughout. So on that note, let's say this full moon is taking place in your 5th house, so looking at you Scorpio, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this full moon, you reap rewards to do with your hobbies and your creativity. Maybe you heal from a romantic matter, or you decide to live in the moment with your lover. But at the same time, you are aware of your responsibilities to your home and your family. You can still feel your fears regarding the future of your living situation. You are reminded of your emotional commitments as well. Though maybe sharing your fears with your lover can help, or maybe doing something fun can lighten you up. Though, let's say this full moon is taking place in your 1st house, so looking at you Pisces, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this full moon, you reap rewards to do with your direction, to do with your identity. Maybe you heal from an appearance situation, or you choose to live in the now. You want to truly be present with yourself, but at the same time, you might struggle a bit with your obligations and your duties when alone. Maybe you don't want to be a burden on anyone, or you possess fears regarding a responsibility. It could very well be that sharing your inner battles with others can help. Others can help lighten the load. Okay then, Cosmic Warriors, so that concludes my video on the 5 things you need to know about this full moon in Pisces taking place on the 10th of September 2022. Please let me know if you find this video to be helpful. I would really appreciate that. And as always, let me know your thoughts and your opinions in the comment section down below. But with all of that being said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And of course, if you would like to see more videos from myself and you have not yet subscribed, then make sure that you click that subscribe button and also give this video a like if you did like it today. And I will be back with another video very, very soon. Bye! Happy full moon!